Alright, this is the cleaning process for a Roomba. This one actually has been cleaned yesterday, but it hasn't been running for a long time. And so it's run several hours of cleaning since then, and it's already getting dirty. So I'm going to go over some of the things about the way that Roomba says to, or iRobot says to clean it, and also the way that they say to clean it when nobody's looking, apparently. So we're going to start with microfiber cloth. All right, we're just going to clean it off. And I have the irony of this is that I have another vacuum here to vacuum the vacuum. So, and we will be using that. This part is just aesthetic. Cleaning it off. You can see this is a battle-worn veteran. This, however, is not aesthetic. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Well, hell, we'll come to it right now. If you didn't know, this is a window to the sensors inside. And as far as I can tell, it's not transparent to the human eye, but it is transparent to whatever they're using. And it does need to be kept clean, and we will definitely come back to that. Alright, so we flipped the beast over, and it's no joke. I replaced this yesterday. I replaced these yesterday, and already, oh yeah. No, before we do this, empty it. It should be emptying itself because it's a self-emptying vacuum. However, there's always a little bit left inside. And, oh, shit. Christmas, look at that filter. By the way, always wear a mask when you're doing this. This is terrible. I'll take that out and hit it with a can of air before I'm done. And you can also see it cakes up in here. Ugh. Really the fine stuff too. That's why you should wear the mask. Alright, we don't need that for the moment. Alright, let's try that again. Flip it over. See, we've got junk in the wheels. Pull them out. It always gets wrapped around the wheels. And also, alright, this is where I like to have the pliers, because you can just dig in deep and pull this stuff out. Now this particular wheel, this is a third party I think, has a little bumper in there to kind of keep the stuff from getting in really deep, because it can really, you can get a plug out of some of them that's that big. And this end, of course, has the rotating piece on it, and even that clogged up pretty far. It's like there's more of my dogs in this vacuum than there is on my dogs. And the other one, I don't even want to know. It's paper towel, not toilet paper. Anyway, that's something. One day, not even one day. I put these in late last night. This is disheartening how much gets in here in such a short period of time. All right. And we are going to do the full. What the heck is that? Well, we'll find out in a minute. That's different. All right, so now to take this off. Whatever you do, be incredibly careful with this screw. Already stuff underneath there. Amazing. Good thing about the Roomba is that these screws, there's 5 of them, at least 5 on every one I've ever taken apart, and this is probably my 8th Roomba since the very first one. So that these screws are retained into the plate so they won't come off. And I suppose you could force them off, but you don't need to. They'll come loose. And on this plate, that one's not loose yet. There we go. Plate comes off, those screws don't fall out. Very important. There's no real reason to clean this off, but why not? Now, depends on how far you're going to go. I'm going to pull the battery out, just because I don't like digging around inside things. Now this wheel also comes out. This whole unit. You usually get it with your hands, but sometimes it's just easier to gently grab it and, well, maybe it will be easier to do it with my hands this time. I don't know. There we go. Not only does that come out, and it hasn't got any in it yet, but it builds up stuff there. You can also pop that wheel out. Careful, this axle is not fixed in place. It slides right through. And then just pop that back in. And as you can see, surprising amount of crap. Is in there too. So these contacts right here, this is for connection to the charging connection. This one, make sure you clean them. If it starts making poor contact, it starts giving you problems. And then these guys right here. And the tricky part, if you don't want to take the front bumper off, and I am going to take the front bumper off, well, I'm going to at least take this plate off, but it extends down into the unit, so if you don't want to take the bumper off, you're going to need to force the cloth down there and do a little rubbing like that. Be careful. There's a spring up in here that keeps the bumper moving. You don't want to. There's also some wiring in here. So again, be a little careful. Okay. Now, here is the trick. This is the part that has eluded me for a long time. When you have trouble connecting the dock, the vacuum dock, to the robot, they say clean the sensor windows, right? And there's also one that's in the front of the underside of the dock, which doesn't look like anything, because it's exactly like this. It's black plastic. And this is what they mean, actually. They mean to clean this, and they actually tell you to clean it with a microfiber cloth. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. I've been working at this for ages, trying to, when these things don't work. And I read something online the other day where someone claimed that they had actually talked with Roomba. Instead of going to their website where it says clean with a microfiber cloth, they said they talked with somebody at iRobot, and they told them to clean it with a magic eraser. Now, magic eraser, depending on if you're not in the United States, magic eraser is a brand name for melamine foam cleaner. And these are abrasive. These are micro-abrasive, whereas these are not. And if somebody tells you to clean something with a microfiber cloth, they are definitely not telling you to clean it with a microabrasive cloth. But that's what the guy claimed, and he claimed it worked. So I had a Roomba that had not been cleaning from the dock for a year, and a dozen cleanings and attempts to figure out why it was not working. And I thought, well, you know, it's to the point where it's getting to be a write-off. So I went out and bought this, and I cleaned it up on the front. Get it a little wet, and you wring it out, and then you clean the darn thing up, and put it back on the base, and for the first time in years, it emptied immediately. But it didn't last. It worked one time, and then it didn't work. And then I cleaned it again on the front, and it didn't make any difference. So I found out, this is going to sound like a piece of brilliant deductive reasoning when you hear it. Windows have two sides, inside and out. And so in addition to this side, there's also that side. And so I took the machine apart again, and I took the bumper out. And I'm going to take this part off, and I'm going to put this here because they didn't thoughtfully make these retained screws. And you don't want to lose these little fellas. Now what this plate does, what I'm removing right now is this bottom plate. You'll see in a second. And the bottom plate forms the bottom half of the wraparound bumper. And it doesn't just wrap around this way, it wraps around this way. And so this is effectively the access panel. And I haven't, by the way, I haven't done this cleaning on this unit yet. I did everything else, but I haven't done the inside. I'm hoping I can get away with it without disconnecting the bumper. And I'll show you that in a minute. To get all these darn screws out. While I'm here, if you look at this is where that little fan goes. This thing is 100% plastic. The threads are into plastic. When you're putting this back on, you've got to be incredibly careful. Because if you strip that plastic out, you have to replace this whole motor unit, which is not not a cheap. This is a cheap replacement. That is not. All right, so here's the little plate, and you can see there is dirt inside of it because there's dirt everywhere on this thing. Absolutely everywhere. Let's see if you can see inside here. There's also dirt in there, and we're about to probably mess up the lens of the camera. Let's try to aim it that way. Mask. Now what I found, and I'll show you a picture of it right now. So I took this bumper off, and you can take the bumper off fairly easily, like that, but there's a wire here. That connects this to the unit. And to remove this, you have to undo some screws from the bottom, which is kind of difficult. Or there's a little, let's see if we can get a picture of it. There's a little retaining clip that you have to run the wires through, and then behind the retaining clip there's a plug, and you can disconnect it. And that sucks. But if you look, and I think, let me turn that like that. I maybe have taken this out of your view. But all along here is the window again. The inside of the window. And I'm not going to melamine it today because it's not caked up. But the other one was absolutely caked solid right in here. I mean, just absolutely awful. And so I had to take it out. You couldn't air dust it. It wouldn't come out. Oh. If you're lucky, this will take care of it. And now we put her back together. So you start by make sure that the bumper is over the springs, and then you pull it back because there's a couple pins here. And once you've done that, hold it in place and flip it, and then it's sitting on its back. It's fine. And now I can put this guy back in place. By the way, I'm partially wearing these gloves because I don't want to have to wash my hands so much. And partially because I've got a couple wounds that I'd rather not have to redress right away. So I like to put the screws in from the ends. So starting at either side. These are electrician screwdrivers, so they're not magnetic. Magnetism is not your friend when you're an electrician. You do not want your screwdriver suddenly going and popping into something that's live. Not relevant to what's going on here, just that this happens to be the small screwdrivers I have because more electrical work. And so I have to be extra careful not to drop these screws or to get them stuck up in these damn gloves. Yeah. But you might want to use a screwdriver that is magnetic for these, is my point. If you've got one. Also, the holes that these are going into, are plastic too. So don't over tighten. The threads for the bottom, these 5 screws here, you can see have, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but they have metal thread inserts inside, and so you don't have to be quite as gentle with them. But these little guys, I don't really think this is supposed to be a user serviceable part, but I can assure you it is absolutely essential. Because if that cakes up in there, it will never connect to the base and empty. Alright, there we go. Now, reverse the process for putting it back together. Battery goes in, clicks in place. Bottom goes back. Oh yeah, let's check one thing before we put the bottom back on. Bumper's working. Yep. Okay. Bottom back on. If you hear excitement from the other room, that's my dog, whose name happens to be Bumper. And he gets excited every time he hears his name. And he's not clever enough to realize I'm not talking about him. Chris, this is a, I don't know, i7, I think, model, but they're all pretty much the same. At least so far. It goes on, remember, very, very gentle. It doesn't need to be tight to stop it from, so that it's tight enough to spin, because it's got a hexagonal shaft, I think. Hexagonal, octagonal, not sure which. Didn't count the sides. These guys go back in. I'm going to briefly step outside and hit this thing with a can of air. Like I said, I put it in yesterday. Yesterday, less than 12 hours ago. Okay, much cleaner. I probably should gun that out too. Be right back. You can put these in the dishwasher if you want, as long as you don't have the paper. Well, I guess you could have that in there too, but it's going to be counterproductive. Let's not forget this wheel, which can pop on before or after. You can actually pull that out without taking the bottom off. It's just a little harder to do. Robot back in position. And that hello. Ooh, no response. That's not good. I'm gonna go stick this on the charger and see what happens. Let's put him on the dock, and he's alive.
all good.